Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first official podcast. The podcast, as of right now, does not have a name, but we are going to talk about video game things here, live, recorded. My guest today, the charming, the sexy, Brandon Rule.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I have a hood because it's cold here in fucking bumfuck nowhere, upstate New York.
It's not that nowhere. It's there's a military base, and that's about it. And I hear there's a great graphic design store. I think it's called Inkwell.
Yeah,
Everyone
sure.
should give them all of their business all the time.
Yeah, everyone that's in the Watertown, New York area, come on down to Inkwell Graphics and do stuff.
All right, so as I was about to say before I forgot, we actually had to start something. Or before I remembered, we had to start something. So my neighbor, 2 streets down, not only has like the Donald Trump like sign in the yard, they have a fucking flag that says Trump Pence like on the front of their house. It's like where you normally see. I mean, it's a big flag too, bigger than all of the college or USA flags on the block. Just like Trump Pence.
See, this is tough because my area of New York State is
Trump.
very Republican, and we're right next to a military base. And so basically all of our clients are posting Trump stuff all the time, and I have to like bite my tongue, but it's I don't know. It's not good to get involved in that stuff anyways. It's just it's fun to get under his skin a little bit. He reacts hilariously. I'll just say that. A Trump presidency would mean some hilarious reactions.
All right. Well, we are here to talk about video games, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about mobile gaming and gaming. Well, when I say mobile gaming, I mean handheld consoles, the Game Boy, the PS Vita, which I guess is still a thing, as well as games available on tablet OSs, phones, things like that. And what sort of brought this into my mind was I was looking at the recently released Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, which is a 3DS exclusive. And I've noticed that there's been this trend, in Japan especially, of things moving away from console and onto handheld console. Major franchises are sort of making this leap from the traditional consoles to like mobile devices.
So here's the thing. Do you think that's because development costs are so much lower for mobile? Or do you think that the Japanese culture is more about not being in the house? Because there's like a lot of the things with like arcades in Japan is that you
Right.
can't have a bunch of crap in your apartment because you don't have the space. If you're living in, say, Tokyo, the apartment footprints are not very big. So mobile gaming, especially on like it's all commuting. Obviously, I'm being grossly general here, but I would say the percentage of the population that commutes and doesn't have to like drive a car, gets on a train and takes it, is higher, even
Well,
in just urban centers.
well, I think that is driving sort of the mobile market. As far as developers go, I think it's because in Japan, handheld consoles are killing traditional consoles in sales by
Yeah.
by tons. I actually don't have the numbers up, and I should, but I was looking at them the other day,
Why
and
would you be prepared for something?
right. And what the 3DS, like the PS4 is winning in console sales, well, obviously over the Xbox in Japan, but then the 3DS is beating the PS4 by like 4 times over or something. And
Yeah.
the PS Vita is big in Japan too. People buy it and use it, and which is strange because I have one and I honestly don't think I've ever turned it on.
Well, this Nintendo combined their handheld and their console gaming teams into one for the Switch, and I think that is a pretty good trend, not only because they're appealing to their Japanese customers, but that would also, it's a little disingenuous to say that because mobile gaming is gigantic in the US too. And it might even be just the lower price point of handheld consoles compared to TV consoles. But I mean, 3DS sales are still, I mean, they're killing people. They're killing other numbers in America as well.
Um, that's an interesting point because in America we also have PC gaming though, which like I think it's worth mentioning in Japan until very very recently, PC gaming wasn't even a thing. Because and I remember I asked the first time I was in Japan, I asked some of the people that were sort of hosting us, and they said it's because there's this stigma where PC gaming was traditionally reserved for like erotic based content. And so if people thought you had a if people thought you were a PC gamer, that's what they thought. They thought you were like playing sex based games
Oh,
in
but
your
let's be real
basement.
here. 90% of PC use the world over
It's
is for
pornography,
erotic.
yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
escaping it.
If you look at like the top viewed websites that are reported by Google or whatever, like the first 50 are porn or something like
Of
that.
course. That's what
Like
people want to
yeah,
watch.
it's like Google is up at the top, just the base page, and then it's all porn, and then all of the top Googled things are porn related.
Be ready for dog barking.
I am
Well,
ready for dog barking.
so what does that have to do with mobile gaming?
Oh well, no, but I think that's interesting because mobile games are killing it in Japan, and as you're saying, they're killing it here. But the major sort of AAA studios in America aren't trying to make that shift to handheld or mobile. When you look at, I mean, I'm looking at Shin Megami Tensei was, they say there's three big RPG franchises in Japan. There's Final Fantasy, which Goldie does not like. There's Dragon Quest, and there's Shin Megami Tensei. Shin Megami Tensei's main franchise has swapped entirely to mobile because Strange Journey was what was DS was original DS, and then SMT3 was DS. Or I mean not three, four. Four was DS. The new four Apocalypse is DS, and then they're keeping the sort of interestingly enough, they're keeping the popular in America franchises, namely Persona is huge in the States now. They're keeping the main release of that on traditional console, but then all of the Persona, let's say, like remasters have been handheld. There was Persona 3 Fez, there was Persona 4 Golden, there was Persona 3 Portable. They even did a game called Persona Q. So the main series is shifted, and they seem to almost want to make the jump with the Persona series, and then they're not doing it. And as sort of we were talking about the other day, you also saw Monster Hunter, which started as a PS2 title and was primary game console, secondary game handheld. The latest generation has been all handheld console.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that why it's happening in Japan and not America is just because consoles are lagging behind so much. PC gaming is lagging behind so much in Japan compared to mobile. I mean, the reason AAA developers aren't switching over in the West is just because the market is still there for AAA games that are on console or on PC. There's more of a culture built up around it compared to mobile, where mobile in the West is probably seen more like, casual, less in depth because people are doing it on their phones. I mean, they've got the phone already and the games are free.
Right. Well, as far as freemium, as far as revenue goes, I mean, the most profitable market in gaming in the West is actually like freemium phone game, like Candy
Yeah.
Crush and things like that. Make so much money compared
Yeah.
to AAA titles that it's
Yeah. Compared to their developer costs, even, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, because what is it? What does it take to program a full rendered world with a custom physics engine and then like put a skin on Bejeweled where it's ice cream? But
Halloween edition. Get
right.
the Halloween special pack that saves you 5 minutes of game time for $5.
Well, I mean, I know nobody's playing. Well, not nobody, but almost nobody's playing it anymore. But I remember when Pokemon Go hit, I was like, man, I don't see the point of the microtransactions in it. And my friend Matt was like, well, I've already dropped like $50, but this was 2 days in.
I just needed all of those incubators.
Yeah, I don't know what he spent it on, but
Yeah.
um,
Niantic is a subject for another day. Their hilarious mismanagement of probably the biggest boom and then bust of a game.
yeah,
For
large like.
well, I know it was happening right around the same time as No Man's Sky, so maybe they were like waiting to be the biggest fuck up of 2016.
Oh man, yeah, like I remember Pokemon Go had more active players than or active subscribers than Twitter at one point.
Yeah,
And then now, I mean, now it's still a big mobile game, but it's not like
yeah. You don't
world
like drive
changing.
your car down the street and see like packs of teenagers wandering around looking at their phones.
Well, um, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
But
I did do a little research, and mobile gaming on phones has greatly surpassed any other gaming platform.
well, it's because the sort of freemium model just makes money. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can name like the shittiest games where you can pay $1 here or there, and it's a profitable endeavor.
I think the reason they're so popular isn't because of that. I think the reason they're so popular is because people don't want to go out and buy a DS because that makes them a gamer, but they want to go out and buy an iPhone or a smartphone because they're going to use a smartphone. And then once you have the smartphone, you can put games on it. I mean, games are fun. Even when video games were for nerds, like everybody likes games, whether or not they're video games. So if you don't have an initial investment to like get involved in them and you're just playing like Candy Crush or whatever, then of course it's going to drag you in.
Well, I mean, also, so freemium is probably a topic for another time, but it is like it hits like the same receptors of your brain as gambling, where you're like, oh, I can spare it. It's just $1, and look at all this fun immediate reward I get. It's
I
fine,
feel like
and then
hardcore
like,
gamers have an edge over casual gamers because they're not used to like having devoted tons of time to video gaming, and so they're not used to the fact that they have to like pace themselves or
would
like
you
take a step back.
would you not consider me a hardcore gamer?
I'd consider you a hardcore
Okay,
gamer.
because all of the things I have where I can spend extra money, I've spent way too much money on all of them.
All right,
My League of Legends
you're a
account,
hardcore
which I
with
haven't
no child.
with with my League of Legends account, which I haven't touched in like 3 years, has like well over $1,000 on it, just because.
I okay. I don't. Yeah, I haven't played League of Legends in a while, but I have spent more on League of Legends than I have on any other game. I'm sure, except maybe World of Warcraft with it counting the subscriptions, or maybe Dark Souls 2 because I bought it 3 times.
Or maybe Neverwinter Nights 2 because you bought it 3 times.
Never at full price. Well, maybe
No, the
once at
first
full
time was
price.
at full price. Yeah, man,
Yeah,
I
okay. Once at full price, then twice at hopefully greatly reduced price,
that game is
and at least
literally
3 times pirated.
that game is literally the buggiest piece of shit I have ever paid like $200 for.
Really,
Oh,
even Windows.
I had Windows ME, and I think it worked better than Neverwinter Nights 2 did. My recent playthrough that I like the last one where I finally buckled down and did it, I kept getting this great glitch where like if I was my party's AI would turn off, and every time I would issue them a command, it would like cancel action. Like no matter what I told them to do, it would rapidly cancel action, and they just stand there. it bugged out in whatever zone that it happened in for the rest of the game. No amount of like reloading or reinstalling and importing save files fixed it. They like just couldn't work in that zone anymore. So that was fun when it happened in the last dungeon.
Well, maybe you'll get another shot because BioWare is porting all of their stuff to mobile gaming.
Oh boy. Also, that was the speaking of it, mobile gaming in the West, or at least a conversion to it. That was what restarted what Beamdog did to restart the Baldur's Gate franchise. Is the original Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition was released on tablet, and it
Yeah.
was some article. I think it might have been on Kotaku. Was talking about how the game was almost seemed to be designed for that because it was bird's eye view. You clicked on a guy and then you hit on the map
Yeah.
where you wanted him to go, and it's sort of
It was all
semi
paused.
turn. Yeah, sort of semi turn based with pausing. Um, so I guess that's one example. But at the same time, so we've established that it's happening, and it's happening in the East more so than the West.
Beware, everyone. Mobile gaming
Don't
is coming for
trust the mobiles. But is it such a good thing? Because everyone I know who, for instance, everyone I know who's played console Monster Hunter can't handle playing mobile Monster Hunter because it sucks. Well, I mean, they're great games still, but in comparison to like full console support,
I'm of the theory that if you consider like video games to be art, then having a bigger audience is better than having a smaller audience. And reaching a wider appeal is better for the industry, like in terms of being able to make new games in the future. Having better sales numbers or a wider appeal among people is doing nothing but like helping the industry. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of crap like people come out with, but overall, I think putting more money into the industry can't hurt.
well, but then like from a sort of different perspective, isn't it better to make a more refined piece of art, a more like solid, enjoyable end product than to have more money in the industry? I mean, I know plenty of creative writers, and I don't think a single one of them is ever going to write an airport novel, even though they could probably get that published because they don't. I mean,
It depends what you have to say. Like, this is getting pretty esoteric, but um,
people that care about
uh,
mobile games are very esoteric, Brandon.
yeah. Well, as art, I mean, it's kind of a stretch, but I don't know. I think you there's always going to be. I think mobile game has opened up casual gaming a lot, but it also has helped hardcore gaming just because, I mean, like you said, there's Baldur's Gate on tablet. You know, people aren't going and buying Baldur's Gate and, enjoying it casually. It's a pretty time investing experience.
It's also very difficult to not call Baldur's Gate a masterpiece. I mean, I know people that hate that game that say like, "Man, phenomenal game." Like they don't enjoy playing it, but they can appreciate just the sheer depth of it.
I totally appreciated the tutorial up until the part where I got bored and stopped playing.
You picked like a barbarian or something that only clicked on people.
I'm talking about one here, Baldur's
Oh,
Gate.
oh, yeah, Baldur's Gate. Well, Baldur's Gate 1 is a good game because it's sort of the first of those. We had a whole generation of CRPGs that were basically in the format and on the engine of the original Baldur's Gate. And then Baldur's Gate 2 is the one that was just like the masterpiece.
Is that engine the same one that they developed for PoE?
Yes, Pillars of Eternity is on the fucking Baldur's Gate engine.
Right. Okay.
Which
Just
is I mean, it looks great. Like it's shocking that they've
hung on to that horse for so long.
well, they were like, well, how can we get it to look like an old CRPG? Well, we'll use we'll use the CRPG engine that all of the games we remember were made on. And then you have other games on the same engine, like Siege of Dragonspear, which is just awful. But
So, anyways, I'm saving up my Google survey money, and then think Baldur's Gate 2 is my target. So I'm going to join the legions of Baldur's Gate 2
are you
players
gonna play on mobile or on PC?
on mobile. Yeah, it's enhanced. The edition
Well,
has been enhanced.
the one on Steam on PC is also enhanced.
Yeah, but who
Actually,
has
the
time?
the
Who
best
has time to
was
computer?
when they enhanced the original one. They added all the like in original Baldur's Gate there weren't class kits; they were just base classes. But they imported all of the improvements from Baldur's Gate 2 and some of the features to Baldur's Gate 1, which skewed the game's difficulty a little bit, but also just made it more enjoyable.
All
But
right. So
um,
overview mobile gaming. What's your takeaway of it?
well, when I look at like I don't seem to mind it. Um, I guess in theory, but then in practice, I mean I'm a huge Shin Megami Tensei fan. I couldn't finish four. I mean it's bad. And it has a few really big problems. One of them is they were like, oh, we're gonna go back to using sprites instead of 3D models for combat. And I'm like, oh, that's fine because it makes me think of the old SMT games from the NES and the SNES and all those. And then when you play it, it's like the world map. You walk around with like this beautifully rendered 3D model and run around and hit monsters. And then when you engage them, it brings up like 8-bit sprites. And it's like such a juxtaposition that it just feels wrong. And then the other big problem with the game is it's fucking pay to win. So you can play through the game normally, but then they advertise all these 99-cent DLCs, and the 99-cent DLCs like, oh, go on this huge quest. They're like, oh, it's like a little expansion pack. It's a big quest. It'll be great. And then as soon as you download it, it just gives you the best armor in the game at any point. And like, there's one that teleports you to another dimension where you can grind to max level in 10 minutes or something. It's so stupid. It's like you give them money and it just trivializes the entire game. And I know I can ignore that and just not buy it and use it, but the fact that it's there just bothers me to no
See,
end.
that's not a problem with mobile games. That's a problem with that particular mobile
But
game.
like
If they did
that's
that shit on PS4, it would still be terrible.
but I see that sort of thing more often in mobile than I do in
Well, there's
physical
also just
mobile.
like mobile gaming is like PlayStation 1 right now. There's just literally millions of games to pick from, and maybe 1% of them are worthwhile.
Well, I think the another thing is it really depends on the mobile platform. I know two of the Persona titles that were ported, Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable. Persona 3 Portable was still on the PSP, and I didn't like it. It felt the animations were ugly. The world felt very limited. But then Persona 4 Golden on the Vita felt just as good as it did on the PS2. And I'm assuming that the Vita is, well, I know that the Vita is like just about as powerful as a PS2, maybe even a little more so. So I
Yeah,
feel like as the mobile, and that'll be something interesting with Nintendo and the Switch is, I mean,
I'm super excited for the Switch. So if you want to get one for me, so I can properly review it,
you can get me a Switch,
all right,
and
we'll talk. We'll get each other Switches.
we'll switch, then we'll switch them.
All right.
But okay, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like the current trend of mobile gaming. I think I appreciate it more what's happening in Japan where they're taking, like these handcrafted like cuz I hate Candy Crush. I'll just come out and say that right now.
You racist.
I hate Candy Crush. I hate like Temple Run. Oh god, they're all bad.
My
So I
father-in-law loves Temple Run. Don't bring shit about Temple
Oh,
Run.
my sister is the same way. She just can't stop. Um, but then I think I prefer the idea of like these handcrafted games over in Japan, like these major series that people care about being shifted to mobile. But then at the same time, I play them and I'm like, man, I wish I had this with like on a console, like with the greater capabilities of a current gen console. And
Sounds like you need an Ouya
what is an
or an
Ouya?
Ouya. Is that what it is?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it was like this big Kickstarter thing where it was basically a mobile phone without a screen that you plugged into your TV, and it came with its controller, and you could play Android games on your TV.
Oh man,
It was a gigantic failure.
I have a PlayStation TV which lets me play Vita games on my. Pretty
Well, there
great.
you go.
Well, I mean, the Vita got access to lots of good titles that were originally not mobile. And I
Yeah,
think that's another interesting point is, we're talking about Baldur's Gate being brought over and all these classic games. I know people have like Street Fighter on their phone and things like that. Um, I guess Sony at some point got the licensing for a lot of Dreamcast titles. Because as soon as I got a Vita, the first thing that popped up on the store is they had Jet Grind Radio, which is one of my all-time favorite games, and I could play it on my Vita or now with the PlayStation TV on my television. And like that's a great game that's not, originally a mobile title. We've just gotten to the point where mobile technology can handle, Dreamcast era games.
yeah. They also had it on Steam for ridiculously cheap at one point.
I think I got it for free on Steam actually. Wasn't
Yeah,
it
was it
what
free? It must have been free
there were
because I
like
got it
there
and
were
I had
like
no interest in it.
5 days of free games or something where you got
Yeah.
packs of like 20 games that nobody cared about.
All
Um,
right. So we're over. So wrapping up here, mobile games great. Everyone agrees that they're a boon to the industry forever. They're wonderful in every way.
uh,
There's nothing bad that could be said about them. I think the main
uh,
issue is that freemium is dumb.
well, freemium is well. There's good parts about freemium too, but I think a lot of mobile games are limited by their hardware, and it sort of sucks to see these great ideas limited in such a way.
Yeah.
But the technology is always going to have to lag behind in some respect because it's the size of fitting into your hand.
Yeah. We'll probably get to a point where there's no sense in like investing teams and teams and teams worth of people to make a game prettier when you can just do the same thing with a smaller team on your phone
I
for a
guess.
minimal difference.
Eh.
Yeah, good podcast name.
All right. Well, that has been our first official podcast. I'm going to be releasing these probably once a week, not on like a static day, um, but regularly, sort of. And it sounds like we have lots more topics to talk about. My guest this week has been Brandon. He will probably also be a guest in the future, and I play with him all the time.
No, but honestly,
He's
never again. I hate you. Goodbye forever.
all right. Well, that has been our podcast for this evening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm going to take a quick break, and then I will be back with Horathon day 7, 8, something spooky. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you later.